Ms. Coleman, let me know when you get back on so we can get started, so you can do your switch.
Are we recording?
Ms. Batiste, are we recording yet?
Sound like you got a mouth.
Yes, we are.
Ms. Coleman is switching devices. As soon as she gets back on her other device, we are going to get started. All right, and we officially have quorum. All right. Is everyone ready? Hello. Glad to see your beautiful faces. All right. Here we go. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to FL Stanton's GOTeam meeting, where we will follow the agenda as it has been emailed to you and publicly noticed. I would like to remind everyone that this is a meeting of the GOTeam. Only members of the team may participate in the discussion. Any members of the public present are here to quietly observe. For members of the GOTeam, please identify yourself when you speak. I am pleased to call this meeting of the FL Stanton GOTeam to order at 5:07 p.m. Our first order of business is to call roll. The secretary will now take the roll.
Okay. Dr. McIntyre.
Present. I'm sorry.
Okay. Malika Lumumba. Tiffany Coleman.
Present.
Okay. Ashley Herbert.
Present.
Jessica Tucker.
Present.
Emma Hall. Judy Lamore.
Present.
Okay. And myself. And did I miss anyone? All right.
The team will only be able to take official action if a quorum is present. Ms. Powell, is there a quorum present? Ms. Powell, I think you are muted.
We have 6 people.
So we have enough for quorum. We may proceed with the agenda. Our first order of business is to approve the agenda from the previous meeting. It was emailed to everyone. This was provided to you, and Are there any changes to the agenda? May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Agenda,
Ashley Herbert, motion to approve.
A second?
Stephanie Powell and Ms. Herbert. Okay.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye, Jessica Tucker.
Tiffany Coleman.
I, Ashley Herbert.
I, Judy Lamore.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Please say abstain. All right. We will review and approve the meeting minutes from our last meeting. The minutes have been provided to you. Are there any corrections? May I have a motion to approve the previous meeting's minutes?
Motion to approve.
A second? A second to approve the minutes?
A second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye, Jessica Tucker.
I, Ashley Herbert.
Tiffany Coleman.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Please say abstain. All right. We will now move into our agenda as printed. We will have our discussion items. This is a budget feedback meeting. Dr. McIntyre, it's in your hands.
Okay, let me I can't share.
While you're pulling that up, I will read what I am supposed to read. I apologize. Our next agenda item is the budget feedback presentation. Principal McIntyre will walk us through our proposed school's draft budget, which was shared with everyone before the meeting. After the presentation, we'll have a discussion about how the budget aligns with our school's strategic priorities. As we review the budget, it's important to focus on how any adjustments from the district's recommended funding support our school's goals. This is an opportunity for us as a goal team to provide feedback and ensure that our school is making the most of its available resources. There you go. And now it's on you, Dr. McIntyre.
Okay. Let me move these things out of the way. Okay, can everyone see?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Okay, we will keep it moving then. Let me move the cursor out of the way. So our agenda for this portion, we're in the discussion items, point our meeting norms, just to review. This is a meeting of the GOTeam. Only members of the team may participate in a discussion. Just a reminder, any members of the public are present and here to quietly observe. We invite and welcome contributions of every member, and we will listen to each other. We will also follow the agenda as noticed on the public and stay on task, and we will respect all ideas and assume good intentions. So we are now at step 4. We have already completed the data review, the strategic plan review, and the budget parameters with our strategic priorities. So now we are at the place of budget choices. We are here in our February meeting at step 5, where we are getting feedback from, from the Go team. Our next step will be the cluster superintendent review. So, from what we gather from this discussion, will be what I am able to take forward next week for the process. We are at a budget feedback meeting. This is the opportunity for me to share the strategic plan breakout and provide an overview of the school draft budget. I will share with you from our budget Excel template, and we will talk about the school level flexibility in the budget allocations. This meeting is important because it provides an opportunity for the Go team to discuss the principal's proposed budget and how it supports our program needs at Stanton, as well as the key strategic priorities for the 25-26 school year. It also provides this team an opportunity to review and provide feedback on the proposed use of those funds that have school level flexibility. And this is happening before the cluster superintendent review. As I mentioned, that will happen next week. Excuse me. So just a reminder, I want to set this back in front of us. This is our strategic plan. And within that plan, we have outlined 9 priorities that are attached to 4 APS priorities and strategic initiatives. This is our ranking of how we ranked our 9 strategic priorities. So this is how we provided the rationale before. This is a review from our budget allocation meeting. So for each of these priorities, there was a rationale that was provided as to why this was indeed our priority. And they are in the order in which we as a team decided to rank them. So I'll give a moment to review the parameters in which everything will be framed. The next 3. And the last 3. So I want to remind everyone of kind of where we were at the end of our meeting last time. So when we talked about these priorities and provided the rationale for them, we had a discussion around what had been allocated and understanding that our process would involve an opportunity to make some requests around signature programming and turnaround funds. And so with that, that process was that we were implementing this year as a district zero-based budgeting process, and that was around 2 buckets of funding and work. So, as a district, we are still committed to signature programming. However, there was some flexibility around that programming, and no longer would those funds be included in our school budget, but we would make requests for that funding based on our priorities. That way, we could ensure that we were of course, being strategic about it, but also noting that we were going to measure that impact of that funding, and we wanted to be able to have more clear, direct lines towards that, as well as turnaround program funding. So everyone wasn't eligible for turnaround funds. Initially, we thought we were not eligible for turnaround funds as we were off the state turnaround list. However, because we are so recently removed, we still had an opportunity to be able to make some requests for turnaround funding to be able to continue to support the initiatives that brought us off the list to begin with. And so that budget was based at zero, and we made requests of that. Those we shared that information of what we wanted to request, and we now have received feedback about the amount of money that we can actually be funded for as a school. And then now we'll talk about today how we want to allocate that. Some ideas about that. So, overview of the approved signature program funds. So this is what we requested. We requested $309,151, and these are the things we requested. We wanted a signature program coach, a STEM lab teacher. We needed some dues and fees, stipends, and supplies. What we were actually approved for was $183,832. So not quite what we requested. And included in that allocation, because we had to provide a rationale for each of those things, were a signature program coach, signature program dues and fees, and supplies and resources is what we were actually, the amount would cover. Turnaround funds. Now, we also made some requests around turnaround funds. And so we requested $296,954. That's not what we were approved for. We were approved. Hold on, let me go back. We were approved for, let me get that amount. Oh, we were approved for $296,954. So we were indeed approved for that. Okay. So I am offering some options. And so within those options of this provided through this summary tabs that we're going to look through, it is the same way in which it was presented in the budget allocation meeting, which is what was earned, what was funded, what staffed, and the difference. And so we didn't really have any comments. So you will only see the earned, funded, staffed, and difference. But there's an opportunity to ask questions and all of that during this time. So this is as far as core teachers and EIP specialty teachers. So this is, I'm going to give you an opportunity to take a moment to take a look at that. So this puts us roughly at about uh, two teachers per grade level. So that is inclusive of the core teachers as well as the EIP teachers. So the what the EIP teachers afford us to be able to do is to be able to provide some additional staff to be able to support where we are with this current student population. And then the specialty teachers you see below are what helps us to be able to provide specials and our enrichment. Okay. Next staffing is on the number of paraprofessionals. So if you look at that paraprofessional special ed, we don't have any control over that. That's what we earned, and so that's what we have to fund and staff for. Okay.
Dr. McIntyre, are we holding all questions until the end?
Uh, if yes, if you can just jot your questions down and let's have a discussion about it once we present all of the summary for staffing.
Okay.
This is our school support. And this is continued school support. And where you see turnaround, that is what was approved from the turnaround budget. And where you'll see signature, that's what was approved from the signature budget. And again, where you see earned is what we can't control. Okay. All right. So these are the changes so that you'll be able to know what changes um I'm requesting. So there were some positions that were created, and then on the other side is what was removed. So we removed the readers as leaders coach, instead created the instructional coach for literacy. And the difference is the amount of days from 211 days, which essentially adds more days on the front and back end, versus the 202, which has less days for the pre planning and post planning. So essentially, they are, for the most part, coming at the same time teachers. So we don't have a whole lot of extra time for them beforehand. And likewise for the instructional coach for that we had for math for 211 days, is we created a 202-day position for that. What was also created was a turnaround specialist for reading. So we currently have a turnaround specialist for math. So what we requested in that turnaround budget that we ended up being approved for was to add a turnaround specialist for reading. So we had talked before in the allocation meeting, I think, about trying to split that time between reading and math. And based on the feedback in our discussion, you did not want to split that time for that reading and math person. You wanted us to try to request a separate reading person. So that's where we what we were able to do with that. Um, then we have as far as created. So it we didn't create any paraprofessional positions. However, we did have a vacant um kindergarten paraprofessional position. And so we are looking to be able to move hopefully one of those uh, paraprofessional positions, like to fill that, as opposed to getting. So we were told not to get rid of it because we'll likely have two kindergarten classes. So to move one of those, to transition it from just a regular instructional paraprofessional to a kindergarten paraprofessional. And then that would still mean, though, that we would have to remove four paraprofessional positions. So we currently have eight positions. That includes the two kindergarten pairs. So total, we had two kindergarten paraprofessionals and six regular paraprofessionals. That number would have to be four moving forward. So it would be two regular paras and two kindergarten paras, with the removal of four of the regular paraprofessionals. And that, the summary of the changes is that this would hopefully support our literacy, reading, and writing, and focus to provide needed teacher support and development, as well as provide direct support to struggling readers. So that reading specialist would be working directly with students, just like our math specialist is, as well as teachers, but be able to provide some direct support to struggling readers. And then the summary of the additional summary of position changes. So these are things that have been moved, kind of like the others. So instead of the signature program coach coming out of the general budget, it would now be in the STEM budget. And then the one of the instructional coaches that we had in the general budget, we would move to the turnaround. So they would become a turnaround instructional coach. And then instead of the turnaround counselor being in the turnaround, the counselor could then be now swapped to the general budget. So they didn't have to be a turnaround counselor. And that's essentially the same position, but just we can't fund it out of turnaround. We don't have enough in turnaround. So we had to fit it into the general. So I believe, hold on. All right, so we are now at the end of the position piece. So you said you had some questions. I was trying to look at the format of the. So there's discussion, Miss Tucker, at the very end.
Okay.
So there's some slides for the discussion at the very end. If we can just save
I
all
just
the
wrote it
questions.
down. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Okay, so I'll move on to the non-staffing. So the non-staffing is follows in much the same way as the staffing tabs. So remember, this was the tab when the budget allocation that had no money. So we're trying to work to put some money because we had things that weren't. It's not realistic to think that we'll spend all of our money on personnel. There are other things that also need to be provided. So the way this section reads is what the district recommended, what was actually allocated, that I'm proposing to allocate, and then if there's a difference between the recommended and the allocated amount, it'll be on that difference portion, and any notes. All right, so this is, I think there are two slides for this non-staffing. So this is the first. Now the reserve we can't touch. So let me just say that. So um the hope is that we'll be able to reallocate that reserve later. Now I want to note here that wherever the district made a recommendation, we try to make sure that we allocate it. The only place that we were not able to do that was under the media supplies. However, we are hoping to be able to still be able to get media supplies in the other places. So we've got the teaching and other supplies, we have a few more there. And we also have on the web-based subscriptions, we've got $10,000 there. That wasn't a recommendation. So we're hoping to be able to fit in the media support in one of those lines. And then this is the second tab for non-staffing. So this is mostly from the district. So the district gives us stipends for certain teacher leadership positions like grade level chair or clubs, um, inductions, the person who works with our induction teachers. So the district normally provides those. And so that's what we will have there. And then also the district gives us an amount for substitutes. And so our hope is that people come to work and we don't go over budget on the substitute line because we don't have any extra money to add to the sub line. Okay. And now I'll get to the breakout of the priorities. So in these next slides, what I tried to do was take a look at the budget across the budget that we actually had flexibility with and to align how much money we were spending for the priorities. So that is the breakdown that you will see. So there's what the priority is, what the strategy is, or so what we're trying to do to cover that priority. Then the ask are these are the things that are in the budget that we're asking to be in the budget and for us to fund them, and then how much is actually associated to those things. So I'll give you some time to look at these. So what I've done is take every strategic priority, what the strategy is, and then what the request is, whether it's non-staffing or staffing, and then what the actual amount is that's associated with that. Do know that there is some duplicate and overlap with some of these, but I tried not to overlap the money part of it. Okay, and then the next slide are the remaining priorities. Okay. Ready for me to move on? Okay. Okay, so this is our allocation and what it kind of breaks down to per pupil in looking at our entire budget. So as you can see, the bulk of our money is on instruction. Um, but we are still spending a lot per pupil, knowing that our projected enrollment is 214 students, and this is how much we're spending per pupil. Okay. And this is what it breaks down by function, what it looks like as far as percentage. So 58% of our budget is on instruction. And the next large piece are improvement of instructional services. Okay. All right. So, questions for the Go team to consider and discuss. Does this budget proposal as a whole effectively support our school strategic priorities? How do the principal's proposed changes directly support priorities in our strategic plan? Can we clearly connect each adjustment to a strategic goal? If new positions, resources, or programs are being added, what data or feedback supports these changes? How will we measure the impact? And what trade-offs are involved? Are any current programs or resources being adjusted or reduced? And how will that affect our students and staff? So, those are some things to consider in our discussion. Let's see. I think we have one more slide of questions. Um, how do these proposed changes align with the district and cluster priorities as well? And do we foresee any challenges or misalignments when we're thinking about the district and our cluster with what we have? If the district has allocated funds for specific initiatives, for example, signature programs, how are those reflected in our budget? And if we are sharing staff positions, which we are sharing some, how will this affect student support and service delivery at our school? So we're not trying to share anything additionally that we weren't already sharing. Will just be something to consider though. But we are in a place where we are still sharing specialty positions and gifted services. All right, so any questions or discussion for any of these questions?
I have a quick question. Where are you putting those four paras that are no longer in classrooms?
It's not that they aren't in classrooms. They are still in classrooms. We just don't have as many paras.
Okay, so I'm trying to find out if there are four paras being terminated.
There is a reduction of, we are proposing to go from 8 to 4.
So are there possibility for those paras who might be downsize to go into something like a reading or writing lab for which you can ask for any additional funds? Is that at all a possibility? I mean, this budget is wonderful. You've done some very creative adjustments, but I'm just wondering about where more support can be added in literacy and math.
We don't have any more funds.
And we can't.
Whatever we do would have to be done with the funds that we have.
Okay. That answers several questions. Thank you.
Okay, I have a few questions. Some were answered as we went through. So I saw the part and I guess this would address like the positions, the new positions or changed positions. So how will EIP teachers be used? Because I saw that in there because for instance, I'm an EIP self-contained. So will it still be classified? Will we still have self-containment classes for EIP, or will we be using those as more of pull-out positions?
The, the model that we use for EIP is totally dependent upon the number of students that we have in EIP.
Got you.
So when we complete those rubrics at the end of the year and at the beginning of the following year, where we determine how many students we have in EIP at each grade level and what their content area of need, that's when we choose the model.
Does that change any of um the funds that we get if it's a certain type of EIP classroom?
So the funding that we have for FY26 was determined by the FTE count that happened in October.
Gotcha.
So the previous October determines for the next year. So FY26 funds for EIP are set. The next time we do a count will be in October, and that will be for FY27 funds.
Okay. Okay, that's scratched off. Got you. Okay. I saw that we're gonna get we're still gonna have enough to have the same amount of coaches because we gained a coach for a turnaround. So we still have our coach. So that turnaround coach, will they be coaching? It will still go to reading so that we can keep it the same way that it
It will
is.
likely still be literacy, yes.
Got you. Since that's our main focus.
Yes.
Understood. Also, the two we're changing the coaches to 202, and I understand why we're changing them to 202, what you explained. So how are they going to prepare the teachers at the beginning of the year? Like, what's your plan toward that?
They will still be there for pre-planning. So they have the same schedule as the teachers.
Mhm.
That part didn't. The part that changed is they don't have the like 3 or 4 additional days before pre-planning and 3 or 4 additional days after pre-planning that was in the other schedule.
Okay. And I think everything else was answered. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
In the event that something does go over budget, like okay, substitutes, for example, that was a very low number. If somebody, I mean, the flu is rampant right now, so without the pairs to fill in, when some of the teachers are out and you have to call in subs, unless you do go over, we don't have any wiggle room. So what happens then?
So we have to use non-staffing funds or we essentially have to move something from somewhere else. Now, things like FMLA, when teachers go out for extended leave, that does not come out of that sub budget. It is the sick leave that comes out of that sub budget.
So that's that goes to the teachers, not to the substitute teachers.
No, that goes to cover the teacher being out. So the teacher will still get their pay if they have the time. That covers the cost of the sub.
Oh, okay, okay.
And we can't use paras to cover for teachers if they are out. We have to have either a substitute or we have to some strategies that we sometimes have to implement are we may have to split a class, for example. So if or combine a class if a teacher is out. So if a teacher's out, we don't have any, we get to the end, we don't have any more sub money. We either put in somebody else who's certified. For example, a coach might go in to teach the class because there's no substitute. Or we may combine the classes, excuse me, and to be able to have a teacher in there and maybe some a para or an additional support to be able to support that teacher. That's usually what happens when we start to get to the end and we don't have any money in the sub budget. Now we've done very well. I can say this year we've actually done pretty well. We were not on a good path first semester at the beginning of the first semester. And then when I came in October and we kind of established some um I don't know, processes for how we did attendance and also some checks and balances and accountability. I can say we have less number of absences now from the beginning of December to the end of to February where we are now than we had first semester.
Okay. One last question. Just let my mom just did quick. Dang, never mind. I'll come back. It left
No
me.
problem.
I'm so sorry.
Let me ask, does this budget proposal as a whole, does it make sense in connection with the strategic priorities? Are there any like questions or gaps that you feel like, hey, I'm not sure if this what we're proposing is going to meet this priority?
I personally feel like you have worked wonders with nothing down to the very last decimal to meet each and every strategic item we listed. Um, Short of a windfall of money, I don't see where else you could do anything. I mean, I have no idea other than, start a car wash in the parking lot of the park to get some paper money or something. I have no idea how else you could make anything else happen with this budget. Um, Kudos to you. That's
My
my
husband asked me if I was going to start playing the lottery.
Listen,
let me know. I'll put my dollar in.
you've been very creative,
Yeah, I second that. I said, woo, she really did a good job on that.
very creative. Thank you. I appreciate that. So yeah, plans. I mean, especially the way where you needed to find money, so you had to cut those coaches. You had to cut paras, even though I hate to see people not be there. But my only thought was if you could flex them by opening another kind of lab in your school, that would be the only other way you could probably staff them and kind of assign a coach there who may or may not be there all the time. But those were the kinds of things that were going through my mind after I saw the first budget. So, but you've done a wonderful job with this. This is fabulous. And you might want to think about a lab in the future that might assist. But those coaches are there. You have a math, you have a literacy, and they are both going to be teaching periodically as well as training. So I think that should support those teachers.
So to your point about the lab, yes. So we currently have kind of a lab setup with our math specialist, the turnaround math specialist that we have, which is the reason why I felt like we needed a turnaround reading specialist so we could get that same lab work done. So a lab is something that we are doing. What we may consider is just how we schedule it, so that we can get and serve as many students as we possibly can, which is the reason why, like to your point, when I suggested earlier, well, maybe we can split that person, and y'all were like, no. So,
yeah, I wouldn't split it.
yes. So by requesting that additional person, we're able to do more with being able to support those that are in struggling situations. In addition to so last year we had an additional 30 minutes on each day that the district was paying for. So we were able to have a 30-minute intervention block. We don't have that this year because the district isn't paying for it anymore. And so in knowing that we won't have that moving forward, we had to figure out how can we utilize the staff that we have to kind of provide that same thing during the usual instructional time. So how do we still make sure we're hitting tier 2 level instruction when kids aren't getting it at tier 1 through that.
Dr. McIntyre,
Yes, ma'am.
quick question. I know we had different sections and one was for student services. Does that include toward funding with mental health things that go on with our kids? Does that
So the mental health we don't have any school-based mental health support outside of what we do for SEL from our counselor and our social worker. And what we do for like counseling groups that our counselor has. So the benefit of having a full-time counselor is that she can provide, I shouldn't say that, is that we can make sure that it's provided opportunities to have groups and individual counseling. Now, we depend on the district for connections with outside counseling and partnerships. We depend on the district for being able to help us that, whether it's funding or whether it's connecting us to a group that can support based on parents' insurance. So we don't have any money. Those services, those excluded support services, don't include mental health in that way. But I asked for it, and they told me no.
thank you.
But I asked for it for the adults and the children. They told me no to both.
Yeah, no. In New York, we had a I'm trying to remember how this worked, but I was able to get a part-time counselor in-house. I think she came in 2 or 3 times a week. Of course, you're sharing it with, the world, but it did not come out of my budget. And I can't remember for the life of me. I'll have to make a phone call. I can't remember if it came out of special ed or not. Might have come out of the EIP budget.
So special ed does give so that's how we have the partnerships that we have is
Right.
out of the student support services department. So they have connected. We've had Chris 180, we've had Family Ties. So we've had different counseling providers that we can connect to. We still have that, and oftentimes our students are able to access that because of their insurance. So if they have,
That's
whether
what.
they have private or state insurance, they're able to access, we have direct access. The district also right now has like some hotlines that kids can reach out to and call. But right now it's at the middle and high school level. They haven't figured out yet how to do it at the elementary level.
Hmm.
I think that's more around like maturity, confidential, like how to maneuver that at the elementary level. But they do have that at middle and high school.
And also, I mean, the little ones don't know when they're in when they're in crisis, so it's kind of hard. I think though it had something to do with the insurance, and if I'm not mistaken, I think it had to be in the IEP. So it might have been that. I can't remember now how we did it.
Okay. So I'm gonna keep moving. If are there any other if there are no other questions, I'll
One thing I want to ask,
yes.
I understand that the state is considering high poverty, a budget for high poverty schools. And if they do, will we be able to get some of that into our budget from the state?
So most of the time state money is funneled through the district.
Uh-huh.
And so I don't know whether or not we'll have access or what that access might look like.
Okay.
If it will if it will be able to trickle down to us if the state approves that. So
Oh,
we'll be on the lookout for it. And I would say as a Go team, let's keep our like ears kind of primed to what's happening with state as well as federal legislation to see how that might impact us.
okay.
One more question.
Mhm.
So, I know I saw in the presentation that we have funding for a resource officer. Um, However, that resource officer we only have at certain parts of the day. We won't have throughout for whatever may arise at school. So,
No, we will.
okay,
So the district is in the process right now. So that is coming out of the district. That is not necessarily in our budget. So that's one of those earned and allocated by them that we can't do anything with. So the district is trying to hire resource officers for all elementary schools, and they are in that process. Some have been hired, and they are actually in training. So a couple weeks ago, we had someone in our building who was training at our school. So hopefully we'll get the problem is kind of like with special ed teachers, right? You can only hire who's there. And so they haven't been able to fill all those positions because they just don't have the personnel to hire. But as they're getting them, they're training them and sending them out. Right now, I think, I mean, it's a good thing. FL Stanton is not a high priority school. We don't have the issues that warrant us to have an officer like immediately. We are warranting right now to have an officer in the mornings, um, or really around safety in the parking lot. And then they are also making sure that we have someone to watch the parking lot currently, and that doesn't come out of our budget either. So we do have staff right now, and we have noticed less break-ins for cars with having someone to watch. So once we get an officer, though, we wouldn't need that staff. We would have the officer. Good question. Okay, so we remember I told you that reserve, we couldn't touch that, but we
Right?
got a plan for that. All right, so
You're funny.
so if they give us that reserve, like to purchase a paraprofessional back.
Nice.
Would seem like the first priority. And so we won't, I don't know when we would get that level in reserve. It may be after the first 15 days. It could be in October. I'm not sure exactly when that will be released, but would be the first priority is to try to get an instructional para. And then we would use proposing that we would put the rest of the money towards resources, curricular resources, since we only had, I think, roughly about $10,000 for that before. So we'll be able to add some more money to that. And then we also had Title I holdback, not a lot of money. And so by putting in a curricular resources, we kind of have some flexibility that if we needed to move it to another place, like for example, media services that we didn't fund anything for, that might be a place where we'll be able to utilize some of that money for those resources. Excuse me.
Mhm.
So that's it. So now we're at the place we have to take action, and I turn it back over to you, Miss Tucker. I think this is your part, maybe.
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. So, as a Go team, we have the opportunity to hold on. As we conclude our discussion, we will take. Okay, so we are at the point where we can take a vote to approve our draft of the budget. So after this meeting, Principal McIntyre will, if we approve the draft, she will take it to the cluster superintendent. and HR staffing conference. Following those meetings, we will meet again to review any final updates and vote on our school's final budget recommendations. So, thank you, Dr. McIntyre, for sharing this information. I will now entertain a motion to approve the draft budget.
Motion to approve.
I second the motion, Tiffany Coleman.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
I, Judy Lamore.
Aye, Jessica Tucker.
I, Ashley Herbert.
I, Malika Lumumba.
I, Tiffany Coleman.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions, please say abstain. All right. Ms. Powell has the vote, and we have approved the draft budget. We will now move into the information items.
Hold on, Ms. Tucker, give me just 1 second.
Okay.
I'm just making sure I did everything I was supposed to on the slides.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I need to tell you this.
Okay.
Next week is the cluster superintendent
Yes.
review. So I'll be working while everyone else is on break. And then the HR staffing conferences will be the following week. And then March, I will bring back to you what was approved from the cluster superintendent and human resources, and then we will be able to take our final vote. And declare your candidacy. Yay. Get the word out. We need more GOTeam people.
We need more GOTeam people.
Okay, and that's it.
And so, Dr. McIntyre, we do currently have a meeting set for March 5th already. I was looking at the timeline. They said before March 14th, so that should suffice, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Cool. So we are now at the point of our information items. We will have a principal's reports, committee reports, which is our uniform committee. And we won't have a report for our cluster advisory report because the next meeting is set for the 24th, and an update will be given for the next at the next meeting. So in that order, please. Thank you.
So for my report, this isn't the announcements, right? This
is
you
not the
want me-
announcements.
Okay.
If you have anything else to report as the principal, because you did just report everything to us about the draft, I think you have given a principal's report, and if that will suffice, we will definitely keep moving.
So next, I will say this, next time I will have for the report, I will have right score data by that time. So I'll be able to present some information about how we are progressing with writing.
Okay. All right, Ms. Herbert for the uniform committee.
Okay, I'm about to share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
No?
No.
Oh. I'm sorry, how about now?
Now we got it.
Okay. So I'm going to share the updates on the uniform committee. So this is the timeline. We are now in the January, February phase. We just went ahead and analyzed the data with our student ambassadors. So this was how we started. We produced a plan to engage stakeholders, students, and community. Survey was created and included comprehensive feedback from stakeholders, students, and community. So this happened December and January. These were the survey questions. I put, do you support the idea of having a school uniform?
Your screen
Now,
didn't switch if it was supposed to.
oh, it did. It didn't switch. Oh no. How about now? Can you guys see it?
No, we see you.
Ah,
Was it supposed to switch?
yes, it
Because you
was.
by column. No? Okay.
Okay, I'll just say it this way. I'll go over it this way. Okay, so can you guys still see me?
We can see you.
Okay, cool beans. The next question was, if you could make one change or suggestion, what would it be? And it was another question, do you think wearing a school uniform improves the overall school environment? Next was, do you think wearing a school uniform takes away from individuality? Then we had selections of items that will be included for uniforms next year. It was navy blue khakis. It was royal blue cotton polo. It was a white button down, tan khakis, navy blue cardigan, navy blue sweater vest, yellow cotton polo, yellow button down, and lastly, it was a navy blue blazer. I'm sorry, I'm going fast. It was a total of 70 responsive to from the survey, and this was comprehensive of the students, the staff, and the community. So when it came to shoes, we had an option of black shoes, white shoes, or choose your own. And then we went over the feedback. So from the feedback, I went ahead with the committee and analyzed the data. Then I presented it to the students ambassadors, and the student ambassadors overall said that they do want to have uniforms because it reduces bullying related to clothing choices, and it's also going to create a polished and unified look when special events happen at the school. One area of concern was the uniform material should be suitable for fall and winter because the student ambassador said sometimes when they wear uniforms, they're cold in the wintertime. And also, they feel like the students should be able to wear what they want to wear as choice. They should be able to wear any color shoes that they want to wear because they said one of the options were black, and they said that black was tacky because the school colors are yellow, white, and blue. So by March 16th, the committee will create a communication plan to inform the school community about the optional choice of school uniforms. That's it.
Absolutely amazing, Ms. Herbert.
Thank
And
you.
also with the response that was received from the students, the staff, and the community to go with this. It was absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
So we are now at our announcements. I know Miss Judy has an announcement, and Dr. McIntyre also has announcements.
I do have a question. So in our timeline, Miss Herbert, where are we in the timeline for the committee? What's next? And when
Okay.
should it happen?
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen right quick.
Oh, yeah.
Where are you able to see it?
Yes.
Okay, so right here, we will create a communication plan to inform the school community about the optional school uniforms. And by April 2nd, we will submit a final recommendation to the GOTeam about the uniform choices.
So does the GOTeam need to vote? So I guess maybe it can be a discussion item on the
Mhm.
March 5th agenda for the GOTeam so that we can discuss what the committee kind of came up with and make a decision because we'll have to vote
Before March 16th. So
yes,
we
before,
have a
but
meeting on
yeah.
March 5th, and we can
Mhm.
include that on the agenda.
Okay. Okay. That was all I.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, it's me for the announcements. And that's what you said, right?
You have announcements, and Miss Judy has announcements about Camp Jenny as well.
Yes. Okay. So, we are making every attempt to make school feel like an elementary school. So I feel like if school isn't cool and school isn't engaging, then kids don't want to come. And so the only way we can increase attendance, so I'll share that at the next one too, because our attendance is looking great compared to what it was last year. Um, that when kids want to come to school, then they come and then they bug their parents to come. And so that's what we're trying to do, to incentivize that. And so we have lots of things going on. So today, actually, we had the safe routes to school. Um, so the city, as I explained before, the city has named FL Stanton and our route as one of the more dangerous routes to school, and so they're trying to partner with us to do something about it. So today they had a conversation, hybrid, both virtual and in person, with parents, community members, staff, and students to kind of do an audit and find out what the thoughts were. So, a listening session and a kickoff meeting with everyone today. So, that went well, and they will continue to, I think now make observations of what happens during that time of dismissal and arrival to see what's really happening during those times. And also coming up for Friday, we have a Valentine's bash. And so I'll slow down so Miss Batiste can put that up too. So it's a bash because we are doing more than just dancing. So we'll have snacks, and we are also having um, the principal read to students. I think I'm supposed to be doing that at that time. So I am also going to have an activity that I do with kids with reading. I think that's supposed to happen during the Valentine's Bash. I don't remember. I think it's halftime Valentine
Yes.
Bash, halftime with the principal. Is that true, Miss Batiste?
Yes, that is true.
Okay, yes, okay. Um and also coming up, so then the next week is winter break. Yay. So our staff can recharge because we are kicking it into real gear as we start to prepare for this testing season. So when we return, we'll have GAA testing, which is a Georgia Alternative Assessment. So those are for students who do not take the milestone. So that's our a small special education population of our kids. However, GAA does count towards our CCRPI. Um, and we'll have right score assessment that will be coming up also in March. And also, what's coming up. Oh, oh, yeah, I forgot. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Thank you, Miss Batiste. Right score assessments coming up. But before we have that, we have the our Black History program. So this year it's going to be like a game show. We are really excited. Our specials team is in charge of it. So you come enjoy some facts. But I've heard some songs. I've seen some dancing that's going on as well as they're preparing for it. So that is open to the public. So that's Wednesday, February 26th at 9 a.m. So you are invited. To tell your friends and family to come to our program. Um, Now I can get to March, that will be coming up. And so that will, like I said, we're preparing for the testing season. So in the next about 40 days, I think we're between 40 and 45 days for Georgia milestones. But between there, we will have map testing and another right score assessment. So we are really, really intensifying the support that we're providing and filling as many gaps as we possibly can before we begin our testing season. All right. And Miss Judy, you're on.
Great. Well, I'm super excited to announce that today officially marks 100 days until Camp Jenny 2025. So that's all over our social media today. Our staff and our teen and adult acceptances have gone out. We had our first new staffing call last night. We have an all staff call tomorrow night where we are diving right into our planning for what is going to turn out to be a fantastic event. So we're really excited about that. Dr. McIntyre, I'll get on your calendar so we can talk about what comes next in terms of applications and staffing and things like that from your end. The other thing that I'm really excited to share, particularly with this committee, is that we have 2 staff members. One of them is a specialist and one of them is a staff in training joining us for Camp Jenny 2025, who are Camp Jenny camper alumni coming back as staff for the program this year. So it's such a testament to a long-term relationship. And it feels really good. Like, it's so exciting that we have kids coming back now to help run this program and to be the role models for campers when they were once in those shoes.
All right. We have heard all announcements. Are there any other announcements?
I have a question. Is
Yes,
this the
ma'am.
time to ask it? Okay. I don't know how the GOTeam terms go. This is my second year. So am I finished after this year? Do I need to do something different? I won't leave y'all in a lurch. I assumed the rules were 2 and out. So I don't know what I need to do. I don't
From my
want
understanding, it's 2 years, and then you have to have some time in between. For instance, Miss Judy has been on the GOTeam before in the past, and she was off for a while, and now she's back on the GOTeam. So
okay.
I believe it is 2 years, and then you have to take some kind of break in between. Dr. McIntyre, do you know off the top of your head how long that break has to be? I don't, but I will find out and I will get those terms out to everyone. Miss Judy, you know the answer?
Well, I don't know if it's different because I'm a school partner. So but I was allowed to continue to attend for a year without being a voting member. So I didn't ever stop coming to meetings, but for 1 year, I didn't count in terms of a quorum.
Okay. Okay. So
I think
I'll get out the official terms and get them out to everyone so that we can figure out who will still be able to serve on the GOTeam as a
And you can
voting
nominate.
member. Yes, and we go ahead, go ahead, Dr. McIntyre.
I said, and you can nominate.
And you can nominate. Yes, we
I
need
don't know any
more.
other parents. That's why I was asking. So you can start your search because I have not. I've talked to teachers, but I have not talked to like any other parents for real. So yeah, you're gonna
And
be
we are
sort of
also going to talk to parents as well as
okay.
as the teachers and the staff that are on the GOTeam, because we want to still stay strong. I feel like we are standing strong this year. Um, as this is my first time on GOTeam. And I'm loving how things are moving. So I will get the official terms though, so that we can find out who is still eligible and what seats we do need to fill. And then possibly we can work together to try to nominate people to fill those positions, because I believe we will definitely have another parent position And we need, I think we have a partner position, Dr. McIntyre, right? Community position that we definitely have open. So we will do that as well.
Or we have a swing.
We have a swing seat.
Swing seat. Because
So,
if I swear I've been on for about 3 or 4 years, but it seemed that way because coming from St. Paul's, we partnered with you through our good mentoring program. So, but at that time, there was no GOTeam that I know of anyway.
Right.
So the GOTeam was new, and I started when it started.
Okay.
So I roll off this year. So
you guys give me a chance to get the information officially from the GOTeam office, and I will definitely send it out to everybody. Let me get through this week, this school week, before the kids go on break, so that we can.
No worries. I wanted to know. No worries. You're good.
Yes,
Ms. Coleman, I
Yes.
also want to let you know that right quick that the next cluster advisory is February 24th.
Yes, it is on my calendar. I won't.
Okay.
Yeah, the back-to-back meetings the last month had me confused, but yeah, they're separated this time. We're good. It's right after we come back from the break. So yes, it's on my calendar, and I will be there in attendance.
Miss Coleman, if you look at this actually applies to anybody, not just Miss Coleman. If you look at the monthly GOTeam newsletters that come from the district, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom of that newsletter, it's personalized to the recipient, and it tells you what your current role is and when your current term ends.
yes.
Awesome.
It doesn't necessarily tell you if you're eligible to continue, because I think you can do 2 back-to-back terms before you have to take time off. So it's not going to tell you if you're in term 1 or term 2 of your back-to-back terms, but it does tell you when your current term ends.
Yeah, it'll tell you when you roll off. That's why I know I'm rolling off this year. But I don't know if they know when I started. I don't know if they were back to back. And again, I feel like I've been on forever. So, but I enjoy you guys, enjoy the school. So, but Miss Tucker, you'll get all that for us?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And I will definitely solicit help from Dr. McIntyre. I know she's smiling at me because she already knows that I am going to get her help with this. So we will be giving out this information because this is about teamwork, right? All right.
That's how it works.
Yes, my term does end in the end of June of this year. So if there's a second year, that if I can go back a second term and you need me to, I don't mind. Just before you find out, let me know. I just remembered something about June. So okay, I'm done now.
All right. Are there any other announcements? Okay. We have reached the end of our agenda. Is there any additional business at this time? May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye, Jessica Tucker.
Aye, Judy Lamore.
Aye, Ashley Herbert.
I took the Coleman.
All right, all opposed? Any abstentions? Meeting is officially adjourned.